Let's imagine a busy, thriving little town called Detville. The economy here has been booming. People are buying new cars, upgrading their homes, and taking nice vacations. But there's a catch. Almost all of this new prosperity was bought with borrowed money. As the borrowing continues, the hidden cost begins to pile up. You can picture every single citizen in town carrying a heavy backpack. With every credit card swipe or new loan, another brick goes into the back. Eventually, we reach a natural limit. The townspeople are so loaded down with debt that lenders decide it's too risky to hand out more cash. The credit card limits are maxed out, and the monthly bills are finally due. This puts the town in a very difficult position. Because the total amount of money they owe is now growing faster than the income they bring home from their jobs, the town has to enter a mandatory phase of debt reduction. This process of shrinking the total debt burden is what we call a deleveraging. When the bills come due, the citizens do what any responsible person would do. They immediately slash their personal spending. No more dinners out, no more vacations. Every spare dollar goes straight to the bank to pay off their loans. But in a community where everyone is connected, this causes a major problem. As you can see in this flow of money, if you stop buying a morning coffee to save money, the cafe owner's daily income drops instantly. Your reduced spending is exactly equal to someone else's lost income. This shared pool of spending is the engine that keeps the whole town running. Because everyone stops spending at exactly the same time, local businesses lose their customers. The cafe owner has to close shop and fire her barista. The barista, now unemployed, can't pay his own mortgage at all, and he stops spending entirely. This vicious downward cycle is a deflationary deleveraging. It happens when leaders treat an entire national economy exactly like a single household budget. When millions of households aggressively save money at the exact same moment, they accidentally destroy businesses that pay their wages, leading into a deep recession. It's a grim picture. But investor and economist Ray Dalio studied historical debt cycles and realized that this kind of economic destruction is actually avoidable. So how can a massive, interconnected economy successfully shrink a mountain of debt without accidentally triggering a devastating depression? To see how a town fixes this, let's rewind Detville back to the exact moment the massive bills come due. This time, the leaders are going to coordinate 4 specific steps to execute what is known as a beautiful deleveraging. Step 1 is austerity. There is no magic trick to make the debt disappear. The households and businesses that borrowed way beyond their means still absolutely must cut back on extra spending and direct their cash toward paying down their loans. Step 2 is default and restructuring. Some businesses in town took on debts that are mathematically impossible to repay, even if they stay open for 50 years. Those specific unpayable debts have to be dealt with honestly. Instead of bleeding these businesses dry until they become permanent zombies that drag down the town forever, creditors and banks agree to legally forgive a portion of the loan. They take a loss, often called a haircut, so the business can survive and keep its workers employed. Together, austerity and default do exactly what they are supposed to do. They shrink the total dollar amount of debt owed by the town.
But they also drain a massive amount of cash out of the local economy, creating a dangerous vacuum that will still cause a recession if nothing else is done. To stop the town from collapsing, we need step 3, managing interest rates. The town's central bank steps in and makes it incredibly cheap to have and move money. This immediate action acts like a pressure release valve. It lowers the monthly interest penalties on all the citizens' existing loans, giving families the breathing room they need to stay afloat while they pay back what they owe. Step 4, government investment. While the private citizens are saving their money, the local government starts putting money back into the town. They borrow that cheap money from the central bank and start spending it aggressively to fill the gap left by the saving citizens. But the government cannot just buy everyone flat-screen TVs. They have to shift the spending toward productive investments. Instead of funding disposable goods, they hire the town's newly unemployed workers to build better roads, to upgrade local schools, and lay fiber optic cables. This is the balancing act. The citizens are successfully paying down their private debt, but because the government stepped in to hire vulnerable workers, the town's total income is preserved. The debt shrinks, but the economy doesn't crash. To prove how this works, we look at the debt to GDP ratio. This chart shows the whole economy.
Financial health isn't measured by looking only at the total dollar amount of debt, but by comparing that debt slice to the total income of the entire pie. When the town applies the first two steps, paying down loans and forgiving unpayable debt, you can see the physical size of the debt slice slowly begin to shrink. At the exact same time, the interest rate changes and the government spending go to work. Because the government built new infrastructure, the town's businesses become more efficient and productive. The entire pie expands outward as the total income grows. By carefully managing both sides of the equation at once, shrinking the debt slice while simultaneously growing the overall income pie, the relative burden of the debt drops rapidly, and no one loses their livelihood in the process. In the real world, achieving this perfect balance is incredibly rare because of political gridlock. Citizens fight against spending cuts, banks lobby against taking loan losses, and politicians argue over investment spending. Yet it is possible. After World War II, the United States had a massive debt mountain. Over the next 15 years, they kept interest rates low and invested heavily in productive projects like the interstate highway system. By 1960, the debt burden had fallen smoothly, while the economy continued to thrive. The danger is in the imbalance. If the town tries to solve everything by providing support without ever paying what they owe, the debt mountain never actually shrinks. But if they only force people to cut spending without providing any support, they trigger the recession they were trying to avoid. Success depends on hitting that perfect middle ground. When a massive debt bill finally comes due, the goal isn't to punish borrowers or ignore reality. It is a delicate, deliberate choreography, a way to heal the economy's balance sheet while keeping the gears of